Good afternoon and welcome to the second Rate the Debate conference. This is part of the Media Mutinies conference series where we focus on the trends that define journalism and democracy in India. One such trend, one such media mutiny is being led by women in journalism today. Women in India are only conditionally visible to the society, to the government, and even to their own families. What is conditional visibility? Their visibility is subject to the women being obedient to the rules and the structures designed to subjugate them. Their time, their energy, their life, even their imagination serve as resources for the more powerful segments of the society. Their exploitation is justified by tradition, by law, even by birth. Women who submit to the exploitation are praised for their forbearance, for their sacrifice, for their kindness, and their forgiveness. Not only they are the upholders of honor and virtue, they are also fully responsible for any loss of stature they may suffer. Therefore, women, in many different ways, are incentivized to remain invisible. It should not have been easy for any individual, government, or society to get away with such exploitation of one half of the population. Why didn't the women rise up in revolt? Where are the revolutions led by women, which demanded freedom, which demanded visibility? Why haven't the women across history leave the unequal spaces and rebel against the unequal laws?
Okay.
The silence of the woman reveals the extent of her subjugation and the power of those who control her. It also reveals that the world cannot be equal, at least not without a fight. The few such fights are the moments that have led to political rights like equal voting, equal representation. But these have come only after the woman voter demonstrated that she has a mind of her own. It was a small success and not often repeated in other fields. For instance, the fight for equal pay in India must begin with rural India, where women are regularly and routinely paid less than men working in agricultural activities. The list of the battles of the contemporary woman is long. Equal opportunity, entrepreneurship, finance, property, legal rights, property rights, education, health, even nutrition. Women live without these rights and also without respect, security, and fair play. Every day, women fall prey while they are going home from work or going to college to study or even just staying at home. No government has ever promised that it would resign from power if there is even one more grey in India. No election was fought on the assurance that there will be action taken against administrators if they discriminate against women in jobs, in loans, in seats. No social boycott has ever happened of families that take dowry, or those who don't allow their daughters to study, or those who don't allow their daughters to return home if their marriages fail. The freedom movement, it appears to me, had only freed one half of the population from colonization. The other half, the women, are yet to be free. There is no point in referring to the constitution and the laws because those who are supposed to uphold these rights prefer patriarchy over emancipation of women. That is why I have said and written before that India is half democracy, where one half of the population is exploited by the other half. The silence of the woman is different from any other kind of silence. It is the kind where even when they speak, they're not heard by anyone, especially the media. Let me give you some statistics. Every eligible media organization sends names for recognition of with the Government of India and accreditation. According to these numbers, there are 158 editors registered with the Press Information Bureau, of which only 26 are women editors. These figures are 2020 though, so they are pretty recent. Then of the total 1,499 correspondents, only 232 correspondents are women. It is clear how many media organizations have women in crucial decision-making positions or even in positions where they can decide how news is covered. The exclusion of women at the top in media has a serious impact on how gender battles are perceived on the ground and how the audience understands them. A few factors why this exclusion happens. One, the top positions of media houses are usually business positions and are occupied by those who run the business of news. Men outnumber women in this segment basically because of the traditional control over finances. Two, the editorial decision makers are collaborators in profit making, and women are outliers in this. Three, the coverage of news must fit the larger scheme dictated by business, where gender topics are seen as soft issues. Four, and most importantly, women are associated with silence even in some workplaces. Their voice must remain so low so that it can be neglected. A woman who must be heard is dangerous for regressive organizations, just as she is for regressive societies. Mainstream media has traditionally, and as a habit, pushed out women from hierarchies. We will discuss how in one of the sessions today. Women were forced to occupy non-mainstream spaces like digital media and have excelled. We will discuss how digital has become the new mainstream in another session. And when women cover historic events like farmers' protests, they bring the perspective that can only be understood by the exploited and those who fight back. We will discuss that too in another session, this conference. In the end, and once again, let me welcome you all to this Media Mutinies conference series by Rate the Debate, ahead of the International Women's Day. Rate the Debate has, for the past 7 months, developed research-based structures which will help reform Indian media, including the Media Trial Index, the Anchor Report Cards, and Anchor Language Analysis. In this conference, I hope we chart the course towards making media more inclusive and responsive to women. As the brilliant speakers of this conference show, in the imagining of a better world and a better India, there is no difference between a man and a woman. After all, one half of every person is a woman. And until every woman is happy and is free, no one is happy, no one is free. Now, let me conclude here. May I now request my colleague and an important member of Rate the Debate, Mr. Aaron Mirza, to introduce the panel for session 1. The discussion will be simultaneously available and live streaming through Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The recordings will be available on all Rate the Debate social media platforms. In the audience, we are joined by students, media persons, lawyers, academicians, among others. The conversation can be bilingual, and I shall leave it to the panelists to decide. Thank you and enjoy the conference. Over to you, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kota Neelima. I think you highlighted the essence of why we are doing this conference and how it is significantly important for all of us who are present here as panelists, as organizers, or even as the audience. It is a matter of pride and privilege for me to be introducing today's distinguished panel of session 1 of the Rate the Debate Media Mutinies conference series. The theme of this conference is Role of Women and New Journalism. In the first panel, we would largely be dealing with women in digital media beyond glass ceilings. In this panel, we are joined by Mr. Abhigyan Prakash, who is a national icon and a change leader. In the times of intense media criticism, when television news is accused of sensationalism and agenda, Abhigyan is widely known and respected as a differentiator with class, credibility, and trust. Currently, he is the senior editorial consultant of ABP Network, its national expert and creator of a critically acclaimed show, Parivartan. Abhigyan has received the President Medal and was also among the top 100 young achievers declared by the Society magazine. On behalf of the Rate the Debate team, it is a matter of great pride and privilege for us to be welcoming you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I would also love to take the opportunity of welcoming Sakshi Joshi. Sakshi Joshi has started her career from a regional channel and has been associated with BBC, Network 18, India TV, and News 24 in the past. Recently, Sakshi quit the mainstream media and started her own digital platform on YouTube and Facebook. Sakshi feels more liberated in terms of choice of stories, gets to do the kind of journalism she wanted to do. She has covered farmers' agitation to student issues. Sakshi believes very soon digital journalism will take over mainstream news if mainstream news continues bending in front of the establishment. Thank you very much, Sakshi ma'am, for being a part of this panel amidst your busy schedule wherein you're covering the elections in Bengal. We genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you. And I really love being here for the second time now. Thank you, Kota Neelima.
Pleasure's all ours, ma'am. Thank you so much. I take immense pleasure and privilege in welcoming another stalwart who's amidst us, Seema Chishti ma'am. Seema Chishti ma'am is a writer-journalist based in Delhi. She's been a multimedia journalist, having worked in print, radio, and television in English and in Hindi since 1990. Seema ma'am was the editor in Delhi for BBC and the deputy editor for the Indian Express. She's the co-author of the book, Note by Note, The India Story, 1947 to 2017, which is a history of independent India from 1947 to 2017, told alongside the sound of Hindi film music for each of the years. Her endeavor remains to tease out, untie, and then help interpret the many strands of change in a large and diverse country like India. Ma'am, it is indeed a matter of privilege for us to have you amidst us. Thank you very much for very gracefully accepting our invitation to be a part of this panel.
Thank you, Arun, and thank you, Neelima, for thinking of me.
I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce the thematic question of this session, subsequent to which I'll be handing over the session to Abhigyan sir to begin the session. So the thematic question that we have for this session, which would last until 2 o'clock, where the last 10 minutes would be reserved for question and answers from the audience, is as follows. Women in digital media beyond glass ceilings. Mainstream media, by excluding women from powerful roles, has pushed them to the digital space where they have excelled. And now, digital is the new mainstream. With this as our thematic premise, I now open the floor to Abhigyan sir, Seema ma'am, and Sakshi ma'am to take forward the group discussion. Thank you.
Can I start? Thank you so much. Heartfelt thanks. And something I've said always in my life, and I maintain it. It's been years, nothing to do with journalism or any other walk of life. Women are superior to men. So men somehow just fail to understand that. So I think this is gone for too long now. There's space, whatever. That'll all naturally happen. It's happening. But they are basically very superior to men. So let's first accept that and then move on to any walk of life, any work in life, and appreciate them, compliment them, and enjoy working for them. There's no need to look any other which way. I personally, because I've been associated with an organization for a very long time, so where I've seen really women excel. So when Kota ji read out the numbers, it was very disappointing, but I've also seen, and it's so proud moment for all of us in any walk of life, as I said, for women to do well. They need to do much better. A lot of people say that, but I really don't draw any comparators because I simply know and understand this. Yes, as in when they get an opportunity, they are faster to outsmart and outdo men at their work. Two very important points I'd want to quickly start, and then I'll be waiting to listen to old reporter friend Seema Chishti, and of course Sakshi, whose work I see on social media very actively. Thank God, social media is the new mainstream media versus digital. I think these lines are going to get blurred further very soon. I traveled across Uttar Pradesh in 2019 elections for almost 3.5 months. and did a digital series, while I was doing my little bit with television as well. And I understood the impact of it. So you will also can understand the impact of it, which is why the government is so now worried that, how do we also control this? Because digital essentially is worldwide creating a space of cross communication, and wherein lot of new perspectives are coming in. Television has almost now occupied a space shamelessly and very sadly, where it is, I will tell you and you listen to me, period. So there's no way, I don't care about your views. In fact, I used to joke with a lot of people recently. I think some television channel toyed with the idea of spokesperson becoming anchors. I think time has come. Anchors can go and campaign for their political parties. Your mail said rate the debate. I got very curious because the first thing I wanted to know that where is the debate? So nowadays in television, when you have a system where there are 4 windows, out of which there are 2 anchor shows now, essentially. One is the anchor from the ruling side, and one is the spokesperson from the ruling side. And there is also one journalist, so-called, in which category I'll also be pushed by people in criticism, who's some sort of a senior journalist. So, which often makes me feel when you're out of work, you're called senior journalist on TV, Varish Patrakar. So this Varish Patrakar is also mainly representing one side. Now the combination is largely of the ruling side because they are dominant in television at the moment, and we all know that now. These are not new things I'm telling any one of you. So out of 4 people, 3 are on one side. You understand, Kotaji? So I don't know how are you managing to rate the debate, because I frankly want to know where is the debate for you to rate it. So all of a sudden, digital opens up a new space of cross communication. I'll also get you multiple views. I'll also get you other views, and you don't have to sit and watch a 1 hour. Actually, it's not a program. It's also very factually nowadays incorrect to say. You watch 1 hour of advertisements in which news comes in the form of some screechy, streamy, so-called debate in between. So it's 1 hour of a news wheel, supposedly, but it's actually 1 hour of an advertising wheel, in which we all know the television time calculation. I'm sure Sakshiji also knows about it. So whatever little time you get out of the 1 hour wheel of advertising, you also do that in the form of debate. Second point, I'm becoming more and more clear of it, and I'm very happy about it, always been. I don't think much of a distinction now needs to be made or discussed. I really see such brilliant reportage I've seen over the years from female colleagues in this profession, both in terms of writing, both in terms of reporting, also hosting, also presenting. So I really don't know. Yes, the hierarchy systems are still not in the right place, because as we know, salesmen become CEOs, sales guys end up. Very good point, Kotaji, you mentioned, because it's all eventually links to economic. How much money can you get for the organization and run it? But there are also women CEOs. So we need to celebrate that as well. As far as newsroom politics is concerned, we all know how those who've never done journalism in their life or reporting in their life, or gone to any front lines, or gone to any big Kisan protests like Sakshi Joshi recently did, they end up being editors, and they actually tell reporters what to do and how to do. And also not just that, they also tell the reporters what editorial lines to take, because they spend more time in the organization playing better news organization politics. So they are they're better equipped to kill a journalist. It doesn't matter whether you're a male or female. So these people naturally have risen faster. They've risen much higher. They've played much better newsroom politics, and as and when needed, sabotage people's careers. So this also, again, I see no distinction here. To be very bluntly honest, they do it to everyone. But despite all that, there is just a lot of input that is coming out, which I feel brilliant. Just to conclude, I have to finish a book for HarperCollins probably by the end of this year on Uttar Pradesh, because the elections are there early next year. And so much research I'm going through. Yes, it's so true that when you read a piece written by a lady journalist or a female reporter, and I'm feeling very uncomfortable in saying all this because I make no more, for me, there's no distinction. They're just absolutely brilliant. So I don't even see how do I put it across. So yes, there is a new perspective to it always. There's always a new way of looking at it. There's also always a new way of also looking at events or politics or day-to-day politics. Women have done so brilliantly well in Indian politics. Obviously, their way of looking at things could also be very different. I think time has come. My humble submission and request. I don't know. I don't like the words glass ceiling, and I think this is done brilliantly well. Far, far better. I'm absolutely certain they will do, and they do add a new dimension. So I'm not very comfortable. I beg your pardon, but I'm not very comfortable still to go on with this, women. And yes, there are problems, but they've really outdone themselves in a lot of ways and faced those problems and yet risen to positions, yet fought for their positions, and yet also proven time and again that there's no differentiator, if so, whatever. That's my opening comments.
Thank you, Abhigyan. That was a wide and a very deep look at journalism, the way we are looking at today, from the past and where it's probably going. May I get Sakshi's view on this? Are we differentiating in a way that it is not doing justice to the excellence of the women reporting and the kind of struggles they have put up? I must say that every one of us who has been associated with the media are here because of the struggles the earlier generation of women journalists have put up and the path they have shown. So how do you see, Sakshi ji, that struggle? Is it still continuing? Has it got easier? And is it necessary to look at women journalists separately? As Abhigyanji so well put, there is a separate perspective in which I think women look at every issue, including the farmers' protest, on which we have a session later in the day. So your views, please.
Yeah, I do agree, Neelima, that women do, look at certain things with different perspective. But I don't like the feeling, the way people look at women journalists. I mean, this particular term, like women journalists, this is what really makes me feel really sad and unfortunate. Because a journalist is a journalist, just like a journalist doesn't have his religion, just like a journalist doesn't have a caste. Why does a journalist have a gender? एक ये महिला पत्रकार, मुझे तो इससे सुनने में ही आपत्ति होती है. So people start rating that, so many women journalists are doing this. अबे यार, आप हमको please सभी के साथ rate कर दो, please. आप हमको एक साथ ही बोल दो कि सबके साथ आप, मुझे भले ही आप 10th position पे ला दो, but my competition should not be only with the women but also with the other people in the same fraternity. मुझे ये पूरी बात ही अजीब लगती है, जिसको अभिज्ञान जी ने भी अभी मेंशन किया. सीरियसली वो बहुत ही हर्ट करता है. सीमा जी वुड आल्सो एग्री विद दैट. उन्होंने इतना काम किया है. सीमा जी इज अ वेरी ओल्ड नेम, हमारी सीनियर हैं. हर जगह मैं बीबीसी में गई तो मैं वहां पर इनका नाम सुनती आई हूँ. लेकिन she would also agree with one thing, that everywhere challenges might have changed their faces, but every time we have a different challenge, and every time a woman always has to prove herself. I don't know what for. आप अगर किसी चैनल में काम कर रहे हैं even for like 10 years, still you will always have to prove yourself against any male member who is your counterpart, right? I don't understand why. People will start looking at your age. People will start looking at your hair, graying. People will start looking at your wrinkles, your body figure, your makeup and everything. They don't look at that when it comes to a man. And the basic terminology that is being used, even if I'm reporting something and the other person is not liking my reporting, that's okay. And the other person is not agreeing with my style of reporting, that's okay. But he will not be commenting on the facts or on my report. He will only be noticing how many gray hair I have or he will just start, just addressing me like auntie. So auntie is a word that he will start using for a woman just to malign her, just to make her feel कि उसको बहुत बुरा लग रहा है. So I would just like to make it very clear to people, listen, it doesn't hurt us anymore now. हम लोग बहुत आगे हो चुके हैं उससे. We've actually crossed that glass ceiling that you're talking about. We actually laugh at this. And we love showing our gray hair to you. We love showing it. And it's up to me whether I want to do a makeup or I don't want to do it. Nobody is going to judge me on that. So the issue is that Mary reporting, my work is not judged, but how the way I look, have I gone fat, or have I lost weight, or do I have a gray hair in my, in my pictures, or wherever I'm reporting, all that is, that is what really matters to people. That is what the I think challenge is today for us. Yeah. Earlier, Neelima ji, let me be very honest, I've always had male counterparts or even seniors, bosses who always respected and given that space that a woman should get. I have never had that, experience where I would say कि मुझे आगे नहीं बढ़ने दिया या मुझे रोक दिया गया. कभी-कभार yes, I do feel कि हाँ हो सकता है had I been a man or had I been a guy, I would have been given more chances. But then that's okay. I'm okay with it, whatever I've done, because I think that I have always made space for myself. I've always thought that, okay, now my growth is very limited here, so I have another choices and I should just go ahead. But the thing is that why am I not allowed to go and cover farmers' protest only because you feel that a woman can't go there, or maybe, she will give a different perspective to the whole thing, which we can't, because, I've seen that women, somehow we are not ready to listen to the editorial line. I don't know why is it so. Maybe we are born rebellions or what, but we are not ready to listen to any instructions given to us. We will only go see, report what we see. That is it. Nobody can just tell us that what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. So let me be very honest. Had I been into mainstream, news media right now, I wouldn't have been able to cover farmers' protests, and I wouldn't have been sitting here in Kolkata and West Bengal covering the elections. I'm very confident about this. I wouldn't have been sent because they know that whatever line they're going to tell me or ask me to cover, I will not be doing that. I will be doing whatever I'm seeing. So this is something I really feel that every time I have been snatched away from those chances, yes, but I have no regrets because I've got to learn a lot also from the people around me, from whatever experiences I've had. And whenever I thought that my growth has been limited, I've always crossed that and I've just, made my own path. So I'm happy. I'm just happy in these 16 years of my career. And I have no issues being a woman, and I don't have any kind of challenges to face because मुझे लगता है वो सारी चीजें have just, since the time you're born, Neelima ji, you will also agree, and Seema ji will also agree. I'm so sorry, Amigyanchi, you can only, experience through our words, but because we have felt that in every walk of life, be it in your family or be it with your relatives or anybody, they will always doubt you. They will always suspect you whether you will be able to flourish or not, whether you will be able to succeed or not. They are always doubtful, and this is what really makes us so happy that we always try to prove them wrong. So this is my whole idea. I just want to prove the world wrong every time. So Wonderful. This is what I live on.
Wonderful. Beautifully put, Sakshi ji, as always. So well put. Seema, I think you bring with you a wide range of experiences from different sides of media. Now, one of the things which Sakshi said, and it really is so true, and what Abhigyanji also said, is about the doubt, about whether women will succeed or not. One, I wanted to really get your thoughts on that. The second thing is...
No, I have never had doubts.
No, not you.
I'm completely of the opinion that there's no need even to make any this. Sakshi is so true. I love listening to her right now. There's no need. No need. I think all that is over now.
That's what I was saying. That that assertion, that confidence has to come from the way we have, the way women have covered various issues across the history of India. So that confidence has to come. But Sakshi is also right that there is a societal suspicion. There's a doubt which is inbuilt into not just the society, but also into a woman's mind that are we going to succeed or not? It's wonderful when that is taken as an inspiration sort of to go forward. But in some cases, maybe it can also hold back women. Now, that's where I thought I'll get Seema ji's view, because one of the things which I also wanted to know was about this woman, Mahila Patrikar. Why is she a target more than anyone else? This Mahila Patrikar gets trolled more. She gets, there are personal comments about her more. Her points of view, as Sakshi so correctly said, is always surrounded by some suspicion that is it completely right? Is this going to be in tune with our policies in media organization? Why is that, Seema?
So it was a delight listening to Abhigyan and Sakshi, Neelima, you two, a bit like time travel, actually, going back to quarters and breaking our footwear and getting a headache, covering early 90s and the 2000s. So I want to just pull away from this and maybe be a bit of a contrarian on this, because while I'm a big fan, and I hate it, I don't even self-identify myself as a feminist. And I think that, writing, journalism is something where women have been, even historically, have had space, have been able to kind of assert themselves and all, but tragically haven't. So I'm interested in the questions of what is it in our society and our politics that actually makes it an issue. And I'll just go on a lighter note, which is actually not very light, but Sakshi very rightly mentioned gray hair a lot of times. Internationally, this is like a huge issue, that women anchors will not really be allowed silver hair. Men are welcomed, you're wise and intelligent. Women are possibly menopausal and over the hill. So off you go. So you have to kind of be you need to cover up and, put Nerolac on your hair. So there was this whole debate there, and this historian called Mary Beard, she led that debate on the BBC, and they got women anchors to come in with silver wigs and hold the debate and see the difference in how people felt. And so this is these are very serious issues of appearance, of which frame women, which try and Barbie dollize them and fit them into spaces. I want to look at, of course, so Indian Express isn't like that, BBC isn't like that, the NDTV isn't like that, places where Sakshi has worked are probably not like that, we assume. But there are still huge structural issues which make it tougher for women to just get ahead. There was this other remark also, that why are women who are prominent in journalism, why are they so good? They are so good. Well, they have to be very good to be able to get there. So the kind of fight that they've had to wage, so much of weeding out has happened that they had to be startlingly good to get where they got. So I think this kind of glass ceiling, sometimes a concrete ceiling, and sometimes a very pakka anarkali type diwars do exist, and we must recognize that. These structural issues have been with us forever and ever. They've very much been there in mainstream media. There was a very interesting report I want to draw your attention to. This was out in 2019. It was done by UN Women and Media Rumble, called Gender Inequality in India's Media. It came as a huge surprise to me too. There are no women in leadership positions in 6 English and 7 Hindi newspapers surveyed till March 2019. In magazines, things are slightly better. It's 13.6%. Television is 20.9%. Digital is good. It's 26.3%. Good given the low it is in print. Opinion pages, it's appalling. In terms of national security and defense, more than 90% is men writers. On gender issues, you find 3% of what this organization found gender issues found mention. And the portrayal of women and issues, highly, highly minimal. So I think from a world of the structured mainstream world, this kind of move to digital, no doubt, it is more. And as Abhigyan very rightly put it, given the government's attention to it, everybody in digital should be very flattered, that so much of attention and thought digital space, which clearly means we matter and there is a lot of importance in this space. Of course, because that's a hungry beast, it needs to be fed continuously. So women, you need good talent, and it's like sports and music, that if you're good, it'll show. So digital has that element of you stand up, you jump out, and you're there 24/7. It's largely unrestricted. It doesn't have the kind of barriers that mainstream media has. What worries me right now, and which is where I want to draw this discussion, is the kind of, so I would like to believe that there's no difference between men and women and digital, we're all free, we're all cool, etc. I don't find that to be the case now. And what I worry about is this kind of trolling, the sexual online abuse, the kind of stuff that Swati Chaturvedi, one senior journalist, Varish Patrakar, wrote about the whole troll factory. the IT cell. What worries me is about the gendered abuse that women get. Ma behan galis are routine. Their looks are commented upon. They are told, people like any voices, whether you have, even Rana Ayub having pornography put out so coolly, which is not to say that just the Janta is doing it. But I want people in power. I wonder at the kind of politics that is allowing this to happen. So what worries me is that patriarchy is very deeply ingrained in a lot of the politics that is dominant today. So even if there will be women who will be talking about it, but it's like this whole mother-in-law syndrome that you say, ki bhai, lekin saas ne bahu ko jala diya. Because, very often it's not enough to just be represented, but you operate your patriarchy through women in those positions. So I worry about the kind of politics that does not say enough is enough. So I would want people to not be followed by prominent leaders. I don't want those trolls, people who give rape threats, death threats, etc., to women with a very, very sexualized hate angle. So what worries me is the kind of the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, which is now even getting into digital. So for reasons of the pandemic, for a whole lot of other reasons, there has been an overt kind of movement towards digital. So if now even in digital, you're going to have structural reasons plus other reasons of politics that promote patriarchy, that promote hate, which want women to be in their place. कि आप अपनी जगह पे रहें, या आप passion discuss करें, the so-called softer issue. You talk soft, we won't discuss your issues, and it's okay. You agree with us, then you're fine. So I think we're positioned at a fairly dangerous space where it's not just structural issues, but the new politics, which is dominant, which is very aggressive, which wants to put several people in their space. And women are one. So I agree. Not just a Mahila Patrikar, I'm a Patrikar in and I have a caste, I have a religion, I have a non-religion, I have an economic status. But I think all of that is now beginning to bite in this whole silencing business we're seeing. And women are very likely to get hit the hardest because all the other things you get massive gender abuse, which can be very, very, it can be very unnerving. I think it would be very difficult if I was a 25-year-old in today's time.
I totally agree. I think you bring
I would say something.
Yeah, very important point, especially on the digital space and the kind of personalization which happens against women. Yes, Abhigyan, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Everyone has to be in the same voice on this issue, as Seema is saying. I just explained it to you with a lot of my traveling in the last few years, and particularly to small places all across UP. What is happening and why it is so disturbing what Seema is saying is लिटरली जैसे मोहल्ले में होता था कि लड़के खड़े होकर कोई लड़की निकलती थी तो बदतमीजी करते थे या सीटी बजाते थे या उसको छेड़ने की कोशिश करते थे, जिसके खिलाफ स्वाभाविक इस मुल्क में आजाद देश है, इसमें कानून बने हैं, उसको इन लोगों ने किसी न किसी तरह के बढ़ावा पाकर, किसी न किसी तरह का सर पे हाथ आकर इन लोगों ने उसको सोशल मीडिया पे ले आया है वो बिहेवियर को।
जी बिल्कुल।
एंड which is startling। और उसके खिलाफ मैं तो मतलब आई एम हार्डली एक्टिव ऑन ट्विटर, मुझे तो समझ में नहीं आता कि वहां पर इसका इस्तेमाल क्या हो रहा है। तो इतनी बुरी तरह से टारगेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं कि वो उन मोहल्लों के सीन से भी कहीं ज्यादा गंदा बनाने की कोशिश करते हैं। और सच में सीमा सो ट्रू, कोई इफेक्टिव रोक उसकी अभी तक नहीं नजर आती। बहुत इत्मीनान से किया जाता है and they just get away from being individual, from being abusive, from really putting someone down. At least पुराने जमाने में गली मोहल्ले में कोई बड़े बुजुर्ग भी होते थे, चार चाचा ताऊ होते थे जो घर से निकल कर आते थे, ये भाई क्या बदतमीजी कर रहे हो। ट्विटर पे तो वो भी नहीं अवेलेबल है। ट्विटर पे तो जो चाचा ताऊ
अभिज्ञान जी कम से कम उनके चेहरे तो थे, कम से कम वो सामने तो छेड़ते थे। ये तो सब फेसलेस हैं। They don't even have the guts to come and say कि उनका चेहरा क्या दिखता है, उनकी आइडेंटिटी क्या है। वो तो फिर भी मुझे लगता है रिस्पेक्ट कर रहे होंगे लोग।
साक्षी जी, if we go on this, then someone might say कि डिजिटल स्पेस को फिर रेस्ट्रिक्ट करिए, फिर उस पे रूल्स बनाइए ताकि ये सारे नहीं हो। तो वहाँ होगा क्या कि हो सकता है these kind of elements don't get controlled, but the free speech issue might get seriously under threat. What do you say, Sakshi?
देखिए free speech is something different.
No,
लेकिन यहाँ पर
digital space, the restricted digital space might eventually affect that also.
See, digital page, if I'm on YouTube and I'm just, streaming live right now, and there is a particular, I do enter certain galis that I think that they will be giving me, और उसको keyword की तरह मैंने डाल दिया, so वो लोग mute हो जाते हैं, उन लोगों का comment नहीं आता. I'm just saying कि ये सारी चीजें, all these digital spaces have done something about it, but it's not about controlling. It's about giving them, encouraging them. Basically, they are encouraging. The issue is कि सोशल मीडिया पर या ट्विटर पर जो कैरेक्टर असैसिनेशन होता है वो बहुत टारगेटेड उन फीमेल्स का होता है या उन एक्टिविस्ट का होता है, उन जर्नलिस्ट का होता है जो कि एस्टैब्लिशमेंट को क्वेश्चन भी कर रहे हैं या जो because I have faced many kind of trolling. Let me be very honest, चाहे कांग्रेस हो, चाहे आम आदमी पार्टी हो, बीजेपी हो, सब हो. I have faced every kind of trolling from all these people. But let me be very honest, and I say this everywhere. The kind of trolling BJP does is just beyond any imagination. The level that they go to is like completely gutter level. Right. None of the other people do that. So उसमें क्या होता है? I have seen this happening with me, with any other woman. So now the thing is that इन लोगों को अगर आप encourage करेंगे, मैं कह रही हूँ कोई भी ट्रोल हो, जो भी गाली देता है उसको encourage नहीं करना है. ये पार्टीज को करना चाहिए. Why don't these political parties work towards making a healthy environment? भाई आपके ट्रोल्स, मुझे आप ट्रोल करो, मुझे कोई ट्रोलिंग से प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आप मुझे भी क्रिटिसाइज कर सकते हैं, आप मुझे फैक्ट्स पे कीजिए ना, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. पर ये कहना, देखिए मोटी हो गई है, देखिए बाल तेरे सफेद हो रहे, मेकअप को लगा के आ जाती है, या फिर कैरेक्टर असैसिनेशन करेंगे, सॉरी, दैट इज कंप्लीटली गटर लेवल. दैट मींस यू हैव नथिंग इन योर हेड.
Yeah, we have a huge stream of questions आपके लिए भी, साक्षी जी, अभिज्ञान and सीमा जी के लिए भी. Before I get to that, before I ask Aaron to start curating the questions, Seema ji, I just wanted to ask you something about this personalization of women journalists. What you said is very right. There is a kind of a immersion of the identity of the journalist into the kind of news they are covering. And as Abhigyan ji just said about the research for his book, he's saying that when he's looking at women writing about certain issues, there is a different way of looking. So are we looking at a time ahead where, when you are reporting something, you have to remember your gender, your caste, your region, your language, everything, and then put it out there? Is that actually good? Because then you are putting it out all there in a kind of a transparent, more objective way? Or is that not how journalism should be?
Well, it's a tricky one because it can be double-edged. Yeah. If everybody is going to, this is part of this whole selfie patrikarita, this selfie journalism. I mean myself, I'm a part of the story, I'm part of the shot, etc. So this is a much bigger debate on how immersed should have been my story as a narrator's eye and all that. I think that is where we need to keep a bit of my clinical forensic, I'm teasing body part and I have to do with the guts and do a narration and write this piece to people. So I think that's where the whole business, I think that's where a lot of problems are coming, because if everything is all self-edited, then there's a problem. There's a problem with television channels. They're all the yowling anchors are editors-in-chief. So who's going to check them? So, I think that's where maybe if there's a filter or somebody sending out maybe Dalit patrikars, women patrikars, or upper caste male patrikars, and then you try and piece it together. So the whole quilt gives you a better picture. Sure. So I think, sometimes there may be a case for putting it out there, but I'm not a fan of doing something differently because I'm Mahila. Because I'm not going to go and cover a parliament session differently because I'm Mahila. Yeah. But it's that somebody else, then maybe my editor, or if I'm part of a larger thing, has to put those slices together. Right. So it's problematic if everybody is looking at the gaze of Seema as a right. That's a huge burden on the patrikar. It distorts the news story if everything is coming out, and then I remain a Mahila. Yes. This on me, that it's a huge cross to bear.
Yeah. I wanted to get Abhigyanji's view on one thing before I hand it over to Aaron. That you said that the mainstream, and it's been my experience also, and I'm sure everyone on this panel will also agree with me, that some sections of media organizations have inordinate amount of power, sometimes unjustified, to even kill a very good reporter, journalist, or a career which doesn't go forward. Do you think the digital space is the place where such excellence can come to shift and also flourish?
Yes, of course. Worldwide it is proven, and there's no doubt because and very good point Seema made. I'm sorry to say, but yes, there's enormous obsession about me, myself, me in the frame, me in the voiceover. See, please understand, digital will also be very critical towards you. So it'll be very faster. It'll be faster in terms of criticality. So whatever you feel has been left off, whatever you feel has by newsroom politicians not been allowed for you to do, because how much politics happen in news organizations.
Right.
Digital can be the space that you can go out and express yourself whichever way you want, and also find new formulas of storytelling. There's no need to be different or anything, but you can also find new ways of telling the same story, because you will not have that sort of a control over your product, your content product, which is in conflict with whatever your organization wants to do. So you can most certainly excel and also do something which you feel a little more freer, if I will be honest. So that happens. But I'll just come back to one point because it's been very disturbing, and I've spoken about it both in India and outside. The way I don't even know if in any other country women journalists are targeted like this. And there's Sakshi Joshi is absolutely correct. There's a design, there is a promotion, there is a backing being given so that you can go ahead. But also understand, and which is the point that needs to be made, politicians also die for the vote of women. Now, this is where the bloody contradiction is. Their supporters will come on the social media and abuse you for literally taking a line which they may not be very happy. And you also want their vote. So these politicians also have to be questioned. That please understand, it's great fun. You're actually trying to demolish someone's individuality, identity. And then to the same women, you will design schemes and come out with soft so that you end up getting their votes. So this is such a facade that is developing in the digital era that sometimes I fail to understand that why are we going around tom-tomming this digital India, changing India? You are not even ready to change some basic contours of your behavior. This is 2020. How many years you've been through independence? These are very serious issues.
Wonderful.
We need to keep speaking up now.
Yes. Aaron, may I request you to quickly go through the questions? I know we have overshot the time. This is a wonderful conversation. We could have gone longer. And could you just direct the questions, please?
Absolutely, ma'am. My heart just couldn't agree with, asking to give reminders about time reaching an end, because that's how engaging the session was. And I think that's also reflective in the fact that we've got more than 10 questions. But because of the fact that we are on a crunch time, I'll be taking as many as we can within our time limit. The first question is to Ms. Sakshi Joshi. It's a two-pronged question. The first part, which I think is already answered in your speech. The question that has been put out is, do women journalists in digital spaces enjoy freedom and get more respect than they do in mainstream media? Is the rise of... Yeah, the subsequent part of it is the rise of digital media an outcome of gender bias in mainstream media, and should it be regulated?
No, I don't think, the way I have moved to digital space is the outcome of any gender bias. I will not put it like that. Just like Seema ji said, I'm not that feminist kind of feminist. I'm just, I'm very happy being with other male members also of the same fraternity. They're also doing very well. And I'm also doing very well. But the thing is that I am here because, yes, I did not enjoy that freedom that I think that as a journalist I would have. So I don't want to rate myself as a woman journalist, but yes, my journalism was hampered in the mainstream media. So that is the reason that I'm coming to digital, and the kind of stories I've done, since August, because August was the time when I launched my digital platform. Since then, I have done certain things which I thought that, mainstream media would not be giving so much of importance to it, and I got to do that. And had I been a part of them, I would have still not gone that much. So I will not make it as a, gender biased.
Fair enough, ma'am. What about the question about digital media being regulated? Should it be regulated?
See, digital media का हल्का सा regulation अगर जरूरी है तो मुझे उसमें कोई problem नहीं है. Only if there is, and this if is a very big if. Only if it is regulated without any biases. Now, seeing what is happening on the social media like Twitter and any other platform, we see Kapil Mishra roaming around very freely. We see so many people who have been, doing every kind of stuff that should, they should not be doing or saying, but they are not even touched just because they belong to the ruling party. So, seeing the whole track record, Sambit Patra, Amit Malviya, दोनों के tweet, I think पूरे India में they are the only people whose tweets have been marked as manipulated media. So still they had the guts to stay with the same tweet. Had it been us, हमको delete करना पड़ता या फिर हमको कितना trolling होगा. So this biasness जब होगा, then I have issues with those guidelines because guidelines ला कौन रहा है, same party की सरकार. So that is the place where I have issues. Otherwise guidelines लाने में उसको follow करने में हम लोगों को कोई problem नहीं है. I have been a part of mainstream media 16 साल, वहां पर भी guidelines ही चलती हैं. उस guidelines में हम लोग काम कर चुके हैं. तो guidelines is not something that we should be scared of. It's only the biasness that we need to be scared.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think that did address both parts of the question. Seema, ma'am, we'll move forward. First, I'd really like to know your opinion on regulating digital media platforms as well, especially in light of arguments of free speech and how they can be moderated. And subsequently, I'll take the other question that is there.
See, on digital media regulation is a very hot subject because of these desperate things that are going on. This is not regulation. They're wanting to control the narrative. So control is out, throttling is out. Regulation, digital should be subject to the same regulations that offline media is subject to. After all, it's a reflection of offline life. So if somebody is being offensive, if somebody is giving a rape threat, if somebody is doing inappropriate news, they should be dealt with like people are dealt with in offline. There is a press council. There's other methods of regulating, of self-regulation of offline media. Digital should be subject to that. I think critically what comes in, what will improve spaces is when real life and real politics improves at a show. And number two, when women get up, recognize it. So we are not embarrassed when we're abused, and we get up and say enough is enough. Because women a lot of women are embarrassed. They take the trolling. They don't like saying all that. That acts, people get more and more kind of assertive about it. But if women speak about it and say enough is enough, and they're supported by their male colleagues, that would, add itself to regulating it. So I think it's a little more complicated than just getting Sarkari Babus and the government of the day to come and regulate me. I think that's a bad idea.
I think that does sum up the sense of it really well. I'll just get Abhigyan sir in between, and I'll come back to you, Seema ma'am, in just a second. Sir, you spoke extensively about how political parties need to undertake a great level of self-awareness and self-regulation with respect to how their cadre or supporters function. Do you think the same needs to apply to mainstream media as well? Because you see in mainstream media as well that there is an element of gender bias that is reflected when shows take place. So how should that be regulated? So isn't the onus...
Two very clear points, and very quickly, because all of us have to leave. Firstly, understand the point that Seema is making. Repeat it to everyone. Control/regulation. Regulation is a different word, and in the name of regulation, trying to achieve control is something different. Every free speech space has to fight any kind of control. Please don't mix up the two, and that is what the Babus try and presents to you. Secondly, if you don't learn from your mistake, which is for the mainstream media, and they are certainly not learning from it, no political party, and I and Seema, two people here can tell you, no political party would not want media to be under some sort of a control for themselves. Forget Congress, BJP. We've seen history of India. Please understand. So you don't learn from your mistake, they will come. The best that suits political parties is a deeply divided media, vertically split media, which is precisely what is happening. They will gain from it. Who will not gain. Do you think Congress, which got emergency, will not learn how to control the media if ever comes back to power? So please understand, we have to learn our lessons faster. Otherwise, you will have some INB ministry committee babus sitting around telling you that, this is what you've done is wrong. This is what is perceptible against some sort of a national security issue. See, these confusions have happened worldwide. India is not an exception. We also have to learn. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. I'd now like to ask Neelima ma'am to kindly give the concluding remarks of the panel. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Abhigyan-ji. Thank you, Sakshi. Thank you, Seema, for all your time, opinion, sharing experience from the ground. I think the audience is greatly enriched from your point of view because you bring in years of experience of not just dealing with journalists and the government, but also the field dealing with the people and issues of India. Thank you so much for joining us in this second Rate the Debate conference. Thank you very much.